Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to day 3, starting a cash practice. As part of our Doctors Thriving Beyond, Driving Outside the Box Beyond COVID series. And we have been talking about ways to, or pathways to take outside the box, outside the traditional system, um, beyond this challenge of COVID. So this week we're talking about cash pay practices. The first day, Monday, we talked about the overall determining which cash model you want to start, which is either the direct primary care or the concierge type or the traditional fee-for-service model or a hybrid. The second day, yesterday, we talked about the pricing model. How do you want to price? How do you want to implement the pricing model? Do you want to do pure cash? Are you going to do cash insurance hybrid? Or is there some type of other hybrid, like a fee-for-service hybrid, fee-for-service package model hybrid? There are all types of pricing models that you can do. And so we talked about that yesterday. And of course, this is building up on each other because a lot of this is determined by what we're going to talk about today, which is what kind of services you want to provide. All right. So now it's all is intertwined, right? The type of services you provide, the practice model, the pricing model is all intertwined. And what I typically do with my clients when I'm coaching them is I have them determine, first of all, what is it that they want to provide? Who do they want to work with? What are the type of services they want to provide? And when you know the type of services you want to provide, and when I say what type of services, are you providing integrative medicine type services? Are you going to be providing? You want to stick with traditional primary care? Do you want to incorporate lab services? Do you want to incorporate pharmacy services? Do you want to incorporate products into your practice? And when you know the types of things that you want to provide, the type of practice it is it going to be more integrative type or fee-for-service cash model or membership straight primary care? Then you can kind of begin to look at, well, what are the type of services that I can incorporate? And especially as you're looking at the kind of services that you're incorporating, look at, are the services congruent with the pricing, with the price that you're charging, right? Because if you are doing a traditional direct primary care model for a low membership fee, is it feasible for you to have a long list of services that will cause you where the cost of actually doing it outweighs the price itself, right? So you want to think about the cost of providing the service itself and measure that against the pricing model and make sure that they match. Otherwise, you're going to get yourself into a situation where you're caught in that same cycle of the hamster wheel, trying to chase the money, trying to catch your the providing of your services up to the amount that you're actually receiving. So you want to make sure that you bring the value to whatever practice model that you're providing, because that's the whole point. You bring the value, but at the same time, you make sure that it's workable for you to be able to provide all the service that you want to provide for the price that you're providing them. So there's a tricky balance. And that's why you want to look at, well, what are the types of services that you provide? And if you're a DPC style practice, direct primary care practice, one of the websites I really, really love is DPC Frontier, because it gives you somewhat of a rough outline or model of the type of services that most DPC or direct primary care practices provide. So a lot of them will have either provide lab in-house, or they will contract low prices with a third-party lab that way. And then some of the integrative medicine practices or the concierge practices tend to do specialty labs that they do from inside the office, right? So what are the types of, do you want to include labs? Do you want to include labs in your pricing? Or do you want to have that be a separate outside of your membership pricing model? And that's the thing you want to decide based on what you're going to include in-house. The more you include in-house, I think the less expensive it is to provide the service, and the your profit margins, I guess is the best word to use. The profit margins are reasonable enough for you to be able to keep your lights on, pay yourself a salary, pay your staff, and actually be somewhat comfortable. Because that at the bottom line of it is you will be a business. And so while you want to give the best care, you want to give the best service to your patients, you want to be able to give that attention, that personalized attention in a cash-based model, you also want to be able to eat. Okay. So you have to honor, number one, your expenses, but you also have to honor your expertise in your pricing. So there are lots of other things that you can provide inside of various practices, various practice styles. Are you going to do, what is the extent of service that you're going to provide inside of a direct primary care? Are you going to be doing more wellness? Or are you going to do more chronic care? You're going to need an EKG machine, or are you going to provide that kind of stuff in-house? Or is that something that the type of patient that you choose is not going to match with having all of these various procedures? Are you going to do procedures? What type of procedures are you going to do? Right? What is the extent of the type of care? Are you doing mostly acute care? You're going to do acute and chronic, or mostly chronic care? That'll determine what type of services you may want to provide. If you're doing integrative medicine, are you going to provide ancillary services like acupuncture? Are you going to provide coaching services? If you're in a direct primary care and you want to do more lifestyle type medicine, are you going to provide ancillary services like nutritional counseling? Maybe have a nutritionist come in, or are you going to do that yourself, right? What are the treatment protocols that you might have in place? So these are the things that you consider when you're thinking about cash-based practice, because the truth is you have more leeway to be able to consider these things. Whereas in a corporate environment, it is very, very, you have 15 minutes, so you're very algorithm based. It's like X, Y, Z, go. Whereas with the direct primary care, any direct cash-based practice, you actually have more time to provide more services. Excuse me. Do you want to provide products, in-house products? Do you want to have a limited in-house pharmacy? And if so, then of course there are some other things, legalities and certifications and things that your office has to go through. But again, you also want to look at, as you are thinking about what kind of services that you want to provide, this is what we're going to talk about tomorrow. You want to think about how big your space is going to be to begin with, and what's workable to provide with the space that you will start with. All right. Remember that when you're starting a cash-based practice, that you don't have to start with everything on board. And I think this would be the myth, or the thing that we get caught up in. You can start simply. You can start with the consultation and the treatment protocols, and not necessarily have an in-house lab. And you can add that later. You can add products later. You can add, for integrative docs, you can add acupuncture later. You can add these things later. You don't necessarily have to start with the full band of services right off the bat. You start with what you start with. When I first started my practice, my integrative medicine practice, this was like back in 2007. I started very small. I started as an integrative medicine consultant who did acupuncture. That's what I did. That was a specialty of mine. And I added in coaching later. We added in, various services, in-house lab things, lab services later. We added in, once I sold the practice, we added, and I was still a part of that, we added in nutritional IV therapy. We added in hypnosis and NLP. We added in a lot of different things over time, right? So as you think about starting a cash-based practice, you create the big picture of the services that you want to provide. And then you look at, well, what is the most workable for me to start with? And you start with that. And then you expand as you get more clientele, as you bring in more revenue, and you have revenue to expand from a space standpoint, and expand as you get comfortable in the flow of being in that cash-based practice. Okay. And you also want to look at, as we talked about from the beginning, whatever model practice that you're starting, you also want to look at, well, who are you serving? Because who you're serving will also determine on the type of services that you decide to offer from your cash-based practice, which will play into your pricing model. You see all of these things sort of build upon each other. Okay, so that is what I wanted to talk to you about today, thinking about what types of services that you want to provide, and having that be intertwined with the type of practice model and the pricing model, as well as, and I didn't really go over this in detail, but it is part of it, the people that you want to take care of, right? And when you know those things, then you will begin to be able to narrow down the services that you want to provide and you can provide right off the bat. And then I want you to also remember, as a takeaway point, that you can start small and expand as you go. So you don't have to, you may have a vision of a full-on wellness center or a full-on, integrative center or concierge center. You may a full model where it's multidisciplinary. You may have that as a dream. I know I did. But you want to start where you want to start with what you can start with now and build as you build your name in the community, as you build the authority of who you are as a private practice doc. And then you add on things, maybe add on ancillaries, add on other practitioners, and create that multidisciplinary approach as you build your practice. Okay? What are your takeaways? What are your takeaways from today? From now until today, from that first episode until now? Post in the comments. What actions will you take to move the needle forward? And I know this is very much an overview because as I said earlier, just wanted to kind of give you things to think about as you start this cash-based practice. But this is the tip of the iceberg. And some of you already know that you are interested in starting your own DPC practice. I've actually had people reach out to me in that interest. So if that's the case, you might consider checking out our MedE University. It does contain my full business marketing and sales curriculum, and it's geared toward those who want to start outside of the box, clinical, non-clinical, or clinically adjacent, as I like to call them, practices. And if you want to check it out, you actually can get a 14-day free trial, limited time offer. It's medeu.nextlevelphysicians.com. That's medeu.nextlevelphysicians.com. Or if you're not sure and you just want to chat with me, you can just book a call, drmaisha.com/meet me, book a strategy call with me, and we can work it out. We can work out, well, what is it that you want to do? What is that next step for you? And how can we help you do that? All right. So post in the comments and share this video with someone whom you think it would be valuable. If you know a doc or an APP, a medical professional who is wanting to step outside the box, who is ready, then just share this video and share the series and have it be valuable, pay it forward. Okay, so you guys have a great rest of the day. I'll see you tomorrow. We are going to talk about space, and because whenever you're starting a cash practice, you want to think about how you find the right space for you. And we're going to talk a little bit about that tomorrow. All right, y'all have a good one. Namaste.